Every year, millions of gallons of water are wiped away by rectangles of fabric. They told you thicker is better. They told you higher GSM means higher performance. What they didn't tell you is what makes a good drying towel. Hello, I'm Bob, reporting live from a location that has trusted towels blindly for far too long. Today, we investigate microfiber, specifically the drying towel industry, and whether or not we've all been sold fluff. To start my investigation, I first approached the oracle of all knowledge, ChatGPT, making yours truly the leading industry expert on drying towels. Imbued with superhuman comprehension of the topic, I then began my first mission, to disprove the myth that higher GSM is actually better. GSM is grams per square meter. GSM measures weight. It does not directly measure absorbency. It does not even measure quality. If I sew sandbags into this towel, it becomes elite by weight. But that doesn't mean it dries better. It means it skipped leg day and went straight to bulking. Are you cool with being on video? What's your name?
Paul Falsetti.
Paul Falsetti? Come on in, come on in. We have an experiment. We need to know, based on marketing, which one of these would you choose?
I'm a red guy, so probably the red.
Which one?
And probably the microfiber.
There you go. Enjoy. Well, what we just did was an experiment in human psychology. We want to know what is most appealing on a marketing level. Red. Microfiber is polyester and polyamide. More polyamide generally increases absorbency and softness. It also increases cost. So if something is very cheap and very premium, someone made a compromise. To move past marketing, we ran a controlled absorption test. Let's find the highest GSM towel and the lowest GSM towel. We'll make sure they're the same size, and we will see how much water they each pick up. 2,300 grams per square meter. 70-30. So this is 70% polyester, 30% polyamide. And this is probably a good thing to keep the same. Same 70-30 blend, only a difference in GSM. Let's see what we get. Wow. The Exterior Goat by the House of Rags. Boy, that is soft, dude. No banding. That's a good thing when it comes to scratches, or not having them, I should say. 27 by 27. And now the lowest GSM. The Rag Company Liquidator, they don't say on the bag. Let's find out on our website. Fair to mention that we do sell these two towels from the Rag Company and also this one, the Slim Dryer Digital Camo. We also sell the Auto Fiber Dreadnought Max towels. We do not sell the House of Rags towels or the Black Line towel. We're not looking to pick a winner by brand here. We're just looking at the difference in specs to see what these GSM factors really mean. The Liquidator is 1100 GSM. Different form factor, Tyler. Almost the same width, but quite a bit longer. You know what this means? And now we have two equal amounts of material. I've never seen anybody cut one of these open before, have you? One dunk, everybody knows the rules. When we pull this out, we're gonna give it 30 seconds to drip for both towels. I don't know why we gave it 30 seconds.
It's just above 5 liters.
I can tell you right now, this takes up a lot more space.
Yeah. Well, we have a clear winner.
We're losing some moisture. Whoa. We picked up twice as much water, and now it's twice as heavy. This thing weighs as much as a small child, Tyler. After proving our own logic false, we decided we needed to investigate further. What makes a good drying towel?
I would say what makes a good drying towel is honestly a combination of different things. Obviously, you have different factors such as GSM, the actual weave of the towel, so like the twisted loop. You also have the blend of the microfiber, which is also very important, and then the overall size of the towel. So it's like you have all these different variables that you can use to try and make a great drying towel. The actual weave, so the twisted loop is pretty revolutionary here in recent times, and I would say that is extremely important because it actually increases the surface area of that towel. What we do at Black Project, the perfect size for our customer. Sometimes if it's too big, you get people that experience very size and scraping the ground. So there is like,
Hey, you got any treats for me?
Bro, it's good for us to get sweet. And then of course the blend is super important. 80/20 is a pretty common blend in the industry that's a little bit cheaper, but 70/30 is kind of like that perfect blend for the customer in terms of softness and absorbency too. So it's a couple of different elements in their drying towel and trying to figure out all.
What makes a good drying towel isn't really the specifications of the drying towel, like the GSM or the blend or anything. It's really the construction and the yarn. And really what it comes down to is how fast you can dry and how easily you can dry.
What makes a good drying towel would be the first and most importantly, the yarn used for that drying towel. Secondly would be the weave. Lastly, in my opinion, is the GSM.
What makes a good drying towel? That's a good question, Bob. So basically, you want to suck up as much water as possible and not scratch paint is pretty much the emphasis of a straight to the point answer of what makes a good drying towel.
To me, I want it to be absorbent, but I also want it to be lightweight. I want it to feel soft and actually be soft, you know, because there's difference in microfiber. It can feel soft, but may not be as soft as you perceive, like under a microscope. And you know, I generally want to like it. I want it to look good on my shelf. Bet you haven't heard that one yet. I want it to look good, folded and stacked, and because most of the life of my towel is on the shelf where I'm looking at it. So I want it to look good.
That is the first time we've heard that. Does GSM automatically mean higher performance?
So I would say actual performance, absorption of drying, you're probably not going to see much of a difference, but the longevity and how much surface area it can cover, you're probably going to see a little bit of a difference.
I don't think so. No. I mean, what GSM really means, most people don't understand what it means. It's actually just the weight of the material, right? So GSM stands for grams per square meter. So you take a meter by meter towel and you weigh it, and that's what it weighs. So GSM matters, right? Because, you know, microfiber absorbs like approximately 7 times its weight in water. And so the higher the GSM, the higher the absorption capacity. But then there's also like downsides to that is that there's weight. And really, like, when you're drying a car, you're never absorbing 7 times the weight of water. Like if you've ever, lots of guys like will do a test when they'll dump a towel into a bucket of water and see how much it holds. And the towels just become insanely heavy, right? And you never get the towels that wet when you're using them.
Higher GSM basically means more absorbency. It's basically how much fibers you can pack kind of in that square meter of towel. So we got the 2200, which was quite the project to make a towel that size. No one in the industry, I don't think, went down that rabbit hole and achieved it properly. So I think our big towel, the greatest of all towels, which is appropriately named, is going to give you the most GSM, but that doesn't mean it's the best drying towel for your scenario. So it really depends on what you're looking to accomplish with that drying towel.
We need a real vehicle, Tyler. Sorry. One of the main reasons that drying towels are very helpful is because all of the water that's on this vehicle right now has some minerals in it. And if you just let it air dry, it's going to leave a lot of nasty water spots behind. Most of the country has very hard water with a lot of minerals in it, particularly if you have well water. And so it's nice to get that off of there before it can leave anything behind. Now let's try a high GSM versus a low GSM in the real world application. We have the weapon of mass drying from the House of Rags at 1200, and we have the GOAT from the House of Rags in 1800. They're both a similar size overall. So let's see what we get. Oh, that's cool. This is my jam right here, gray and orange, bro. Well, this is this is like a blinding orange, dude. Look at that thing. Let's do the cast and pull. You ready? Cast and pull. Now let's try the weapon of mass drying. Look, it left the pattern of the towel. So it appears that this twisted loop works a little better than whatever this is. As cool as this looks with the stripe, I don't know if that's an advantageous aspect, Tyler. Look at it right here. Look at that. Line, line, line. Now this is not prepared paint by any means. This is real world paint right here. It's pine sap and no paint correction. It's probably more like what you would actually work on, unless you're really particular. That's Grabby, man. You can feel this one like pulls harder. I wonder if that means it's drying more. You can feel the drag, there's a difference. I wonder if we have a way to measure that. I think we do, Tyler. This should show us how much drag there is on those towels. When did this become a Project Farm video, dude? Let's measure measure the drag. 5.5. These towels are slightly different dimensions. One's slightly wider, one's slightly longer, but they're both roughly the same amount of surface area, as far as I can tell. Oh, 5.3. Maybe it was all in my head. I could have sworn this one was harder to pull. Let's do that again. Oh, I guess I can't trust my own senses. I could have sworn this one was harder to pull. Is a higher GSM more grabby on the paint when you go to pull it?
So we actually have found that it does seem to be a little bit more grabby and almost denser. I wouldn't say stiffer or rougher, but we've seen that it almost gives the effect that like, hey, is this actually as soft as a 1300 GSM or a 1200 GSM? But the fibers are packed a little bit tighter. It almost gives the effect that it could be a little bit rougher, which could also be a little bit more grabby on the paint potentially. I haven't noticed that. We haven't tested if it's grabbier, but I could see how if someone else tested it, it seems like a possible conclusion.
No, that's just when the weight of the towel comes in. You know, it's just going to equate to being just a heavier drag.
I don't think so. I don't think theoretically either. I mean, microfiber is just plastic, right? It's very, very fine filamented plastic, microplastic. I don't know that the weave really matters.
The answer to our question was a very definitive yes, no, yes, and then no. So why do so many companies offer such a wide array of options when it comes to drying towels?
Well, gosh, with detailing and detailers, like there's no perfect solution for anything. And there's so many different opinions and processes. And so we end up with a lot of different versions and sizes because we get a lot of opinions, and our business is built upon gathering feedback and improving the products over time from that customer feedback.
So drying towels are personal preference, right? It's the same way that somebody, prefers to scrunch their toilet paper versus fold their toilet paper versus, create an origami piece of toilet paper to do what they need to do with it, right?
I think there's this pursuit to find the perfect solution, and so they get bigger and heavier and heavier and higher GSM and more towels sewn together. And I think that part of it is the industry attempting to keep it fresh, plus this pursuit to find something that works better to change the marketplace, to change the process.
So it turns out the reason that there's so many options on the market is because it's like clothing. One size fits all just can't be the case. Let's talk about edging. Many people worry that a stitched edge like this could create marring. We're going to find out from the source. Do I need to worry about stitched edges marring paint, causing scratches?
If it's the double twisted loop, the edges are so embedded in there, you shouldn't have to worry about that with paint. But on some of the slimmer drying towels, some of the edges on there, the stitches can be open and you can see the edge as well. So I would be wary, like you want to make sure it's a very soft material, whether it's silk or suede on the exterior. If it does have an edge, you definitely want to make sure, the stitching is also using material that's not hard as well.
What is the purpose of a drying towel that is thinner and only has like the twisted loop on one side? Is it just to be slimmer?
So yeah, the purpose, like for what we do, is we offer it as a more cost-effective option for someone that's maybe they just need to dry their car, once after detailing it.
Not like with these drying towels where we have the like hemmed edge, but I definitely think like on Costco towels, it can be an issue, right? Like with that overlock stitch, it can definitely be an issue. When it comes to anything, like it's a matter of what you're scrubbing and how hard you're scrubbing on the surface. But those stitched edge, the overlock stitch is typically 100% polyester, which, can scratch softer paint. But it's with the drying towels, it's less of an issue because, like I said, you're not putting a lot of pressure on the surface, right? And it's lubricated by the water, right? Water's a great lubricant.
Edges aren't bad. There's a big misconception that like just having like an edge on a towel, is a bad thing. whether it's a Buttersoft suede, whether it's a zip stitch, whether it's a overlock stitch, satin stitch, whatever's on the edge there. I don't think edges are a bad thing. I think it just changes the way the towel feels, for sure.
Do I need to worry about the stitched edge on a towel scratching or marring the paint?
Yeah, it depends if the stitched edged, if it's actually microfiber or not. Some big box store branded towels can be like almost like a corduroy border type of deal, and they can definitely wind up scratching your paint, especially because the edge of the towels aren't going to be like absorbent. They're not going to be microfiber. So they'll take the dirt, instead of absorbing it and kind of tucking it away in the fibers, it's going to take that dirt and just rub it up against your paint.
This doesn't seem too scratchy, though, to me, Tyler. I've done much worse things to my vehicle than wipe something like this across. At a certain point, you might notice that your drying towel isn't working the way it used to when it was brand new. And we were curious, why is that? What helps preserve lifespan, and what shortens lifespan?
It's a good question. So, I mean, it all comes down to how you care about the towel. So, I mean, if you're using sealants or spray wax, you have to think those are pretty hydrophobic products when they go on the paint, and they can, if you're using them on the paint and then you're drying the towel, obviously those are going to get into the towel and tend to clog it up and almost make the towel hydrophobic as well, which, the next time you go to use it, you're like, okay, why is my drying towel now repelling water, right? So what you want to go for when you're in that situation is to use a proper product. Like we developed a Restore, a microfiber detergent. I know the rag company has the Rags to Riches, which is a great product. So knowingly using a mild detergent with mild surfactants where it's not going to damage the fibers. And then when you're actually washing it, you don't want to I would recommend using warm water, but when you go to dry it, you do not want to use super, super high heat because it can damage the fibers, degrade them, make them less absorbent. Those are two things where you can hopefully preserve your towel, but also comes down to how much you use it. Obviously, if you're using it multiple times a day, it's probably going to run its lifespan a little bit shorter than if it's used every weekend or something.
So hard water, like in San Diego, we have pretty hard water. And over time, like washing the towels, the magnesium and calcium can actually build up and not get removed from the fibers, and that can clog the fibers over time. So that's where we came up with the Micro Restore detergent, which has water softeners in it that helps kind of prevent that problem. And then here's another thing that can really make the towels not work, is if you use too much detergent in the wash cycle. So detergent is alkaline, and if you use too much detergent because you think the towels are too dirty, the detergent doesn't get rinsed out. It gets left in the fibers. The fibers are less absorbent and they can end up streaking. So the solution to that is to soak your towels in a solution of distilled white vinegar and water. That's one way to kind of bring the life back in your towels if they're not absorbing.
Shortened lifespan is going to be lighting your towels on fire, running them over. Getting into a bar fight with a towel will reduce the lifespan a little bit, especially if you break like a beer bottle and start stabbing the towel. I find that those instances will reduce the lifespan of a towel pretty dramatically.
It starts off through your drying process. If you're using a ceramic sealant, if you're using drying aids with polymers and that ceramic protection, that's immediately going to start kind of fighting against the towel's point of drying the vehicle, because if you let that dry, it's going to seal the towel. So one, you want to avoid sealing your drying towels. You like to use Awesome Sauce. Awesome Sauce has a SiO2 in it. So basically you want to keep the towel wet and get it into laundry, get it through the laundry cycle ASAP to try and wash that sealant out of the towel.
You know what's interesting? I was always adamant that you should not dry your microfiber because of the heat, right? You don't want to overheat. It's plastic, right? And so those microplastics, if you bring up to a certain temperature, you'll damage the fibers. What I've actually found that's made my towels last the longest, one is using a proper detergent, one that's designed to attack modern sealants. That's the killer to a towel. Grease, sealants, right? And so a silicon dioxide spray sealant is like nuclear to a towel. In fact, you can turn your towel into a cup or a bucket, with the right amount of sealant on it, where you could actually hold water up without it dripping through. And so you want to get that out of the towel. And so I like to wash, and I like to wash with a second rinse to really rinse out the towel. Because remember, microfiber is designed to grab and hold. That's quoting Jason Rose. And then I found that my towels tend to last longer and work better if I do dry them in extremely low heat. So I bring them up to do like a damp dry or a delicate dry, like a permanent press type dry, where I bring it right to dry, not beyond, not overheating it, because then any sand and dirt and dust and things will sort of shake out, and lint will shake out of the towels. As long as I do that with a proper, like a Speed Queen washer and dryer, I can get a lot better longevity out of my towels.
One thing that nearly everyone agreed on, a drying towel's performance doesn't just come from how it's made. It comes from how it's used and how it's cared for. Heat, detergent buildup, hard water, and contamination can slowly clog the fibers that actually do the drying. And when that happens, even the best towel can start to fail. Which brings us to something interesting, because what a lot of people blame on the towel isn't actually the towel at all. What do most customers misunderstand about drying towels?
There's still a big portion of the consumer base who thinks like a drying towel is just going to scratch your paint. Even like the leather chamois guys, still think the leather chamois is the safest way to dry your vehicle. But it's just about proper prep. Make sure you get all the dirt off the car before coming in with a drying towel. I know you've used drying towels in a waterless wash form at times, but it's still going to be, they're still going to absorb and pick up the dirt and stuff, but there's a higher chance for sure anytime you're pushing around dirt, it's going to scratch paint.
Is what is truly out there. Because I would say to the everyday consumer and people that we talk to that maybe don't know about, Blackline or the Rag Company or House of Rags that have great drying towels, is they just don't know what's out there.
Yeah, I think they misunderstand that they're all not the same, right? And that higher GSM is better, or that the higher blend is better. It's almost like an arms race to get to the highest specification number. And I just don't think that translates to the quality of the towel or how well it works or how long it lasts.
I would say that most people in the world don't know that quality microfiber drying towels exist.
I mean, a towel is theoretically an abrasive. So I think inevitably, no matter how much care you take, over time is going to mar the paint in some form or fashion. Even in, at a microscopic level, every time you touch the surface of the clear coat, even if it's protected, you're creating some sort of abrasion.
So after talking with manufacturers, designers, testers, and leading influencers in the microfiber drying towel industry, one thing became very clear. No one agreed on the one perfect drying towel, but everyone did agree on what actually matters. A good drying towel isn't defined by one number. Not GSM, not thickness, not even price. It's the balance between construction, material, usability, and user preference. Yes, higher GSM towels can hold more water, but real-world drying isn't about how much water a towel can hold. It's about how easily it can remove the water that's actually on a vehicle. The industry doesn't make hundreds of different options because no one knows the answer. They make that many because there isn't just one way that people dry vehicles. And maybe the biggest takeaway from all of this, no one drying towel is magic. It's still a tool, and like any tool, it works best when you understand why it works. And it turns out that drying towels aren't that scary after all.